know God came down and spoke to them or spoke to them. So, you know, how does God speak to us? Or does God speak to us? How does God speak to us? And if he does, like he does in the Bible times, why aren't we hearing as much of what God's saying? Brings me back to a story when I first started on my spiritual journey and stuff. I used to listen to a lot of tapes, cassette tapes, which you know, okay, when that was, but the cassette tapes of Tony Campolo. And Tony Campolo is he's a professor at Eastern College. I think it was Eastern College, which is a Christian college in Philadelphia. But anyway, he was a evangelist, and he would go out and preach and stuff. And he had a lot of people that didn't really like the way he presented and stuff because he was funny. He was kind of like down to earth, you know, more so, whatever. But anyways, I remember him telling this story, and I thought it was really good. He said that he taught at this, or he gave this presentation for a bunch of college students someplace. And at the end of the presentation, this lady came down the aisle, and she was carrying her child. And her child had braces on his legs that couldn't walk. And you know, people were going out or whatever, but this lady came down the aisle and said, "I'm here for you to heal my child." And he said, as soon as that happened, everybody stopped and turned around to see what he would do. You know? So he said, you know, the pressure was on, and he said, you know, gee, you know, I'm not a healer. He said, some people, you know, have different skills, and you know, some are healers, some are, you know, whatever. He said, I'm a teacher. I'm not a healer. And she said, God told him to come. And he said, well, you know, he was thinking, if God told her to come, at least he could have told me she was coming. You know, she could have gave me a warning. But anyway, he said, you know, all these college kids were looking at me and seeing my anxiety and seeing what I would do, you know. So he goes to the college chaplain, you know, what should we do? And the college chaplain said, well, let's take him down to the kitchen and, you know, do our prayers. So he said, all these kids were standing there waiting to see what would happen. He said, whoever doesn't believe that this child will be healed tonight, please leave, because even Jesus couldn't do miracles in the midst of unbelievers. And he said it cleared the place. Everybody left. So he said the people that were left went downstairs, and you know, chaplain said, well, let's do it like they say in the book. You know, anoint the kid's head with oil. You know, pray over him. And he said, what kind of oil are we using? Looks in the closet. Del Monte. We got Del Monte oil. So you know, they anointed the head with oil, and they started praying over this child. And you know, he said everybody that was there was saying their prayers and their incantations. And he said suddenly there was an awe that fell in the room. He said you could feel the presence of God. I guess what I'm thinking about. But he said everybody stopped praying because everybody felt this awe. They felt the presence of God. And he said when they were finished, the child was not healed. And his mom carried him out and thanked them for their prayers. And he said 3 years later he was doing a teaching someplace close to that. And this lady came down the aisle. Now, this was 3 years later. She came down the aisle, and she said, do you remember me? And he said, yes, I remember you. You brought your son. How is he doing? How's he doing? And she said, here he is. And he came down, walking down the aisle, and he had two crutches, but he was walking with two handheld canes. And he said, that's amazing. What happened? And she said, well, we prayed. We prayed. And she said that night he woke up crying. And she went over to see what was wrong, and the brace was too tight. So he opened the brace a little bit, and she said it happened every night. Every night the brace would be tighter, and she would open the brace, and with that, his leg was growing, and it was becoming stronger. To a point that he now is walking with two crutches, is able to walk without the brace. And you think about that, and you know, it wasn't the oil. It wasn't, you know, it was the belief, and it was the prayers, and the proof that God, you know, does not finish everything. You know, sometimes, you know, we have to keep going until everything is finished, until we're whole. But thinking about that, you know, I think of going back to the beginning of the story when she said, God told me to come. You know, and he said, I'm not a healer. You know, but God, something within her told her to go that night to be healed, for her son to be healed. And she listened, and she followed. We don't know what it was that told her. You know, we don't know, you know, how God spoke to her. But the thing is, God spoke to her, and she listened. We think about, how does God speak to us? How does God speak speak to us today? How do we think that God speaks to us? Your higher mind and your imagination, your feelings, excellent. Okay, okay. Expecting God. All of these things too are expecting God. Your imagination, expecting God to be talking to us. Go ahead. Through other people. Right, exactly, exactly. Okay, so it's all of these different things. Sometimes we expect an answer in a certain way. And sometimes, God answers any prayer. In the Bible it says, your Father knows what you need before you even ask. And we know that when we have a problem, the answer is right on the heels of the problem. We never get a problem, or what we call a problem or a situation, we never get that without an answer right on its heels. But the thing is, are we able to see that answer and be able to listen to that answer? So when we talk about that, and I remember too when I went on my spiritual path and 12-step program, we saw through prayer meditation to achieve a contact with God and to know His will. And it was like, what is, how do I know? God's voice sounds a lot like Nancy's in my head. It's like, how do I know it's God? Sounds like Nancy. So basically figuring out what God's message is instead of our own message is called spiritual discernment. And, Charles Fillmore talks about spiritual discernment, but also there was a Saint Ignatius, and actually there's a school, Saint Ignatius of Loyola or whatever. So anyway, he was a Catholic saint. And he was considered the greatest authority on spiritual discernment. He even wrote a book called The Rules of Discernment of Spirits. And yet, there was a story about Saint Ignatius. Now, back in 1500, when he lived, there was a rule that anybody that talked against the Catholic faith or against Jesus should be put to death. Okay, and there was a Moor that was talking against Jesus. So he was trying to discern. He could not discern the right thing to do and to defend the honor of the Madonna. He was talking against the virgin birth. So the Moor saw this Moor that said that. In an argument of the subject, the Moor saw how upset Ignatius was getting and wisely hurried on ahead, while Ignatius became more disturbed and more concerned because he failed his religious duty. His religious duty at that time was to kill the Moor, to stab him to death. But Ignatius couldn't discern, what should I do? What should I do? And why was that? Because really, his higher power was telling him, I'm sure, it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right to kill that person just because he has different ideas than I do, even though that was the religious rule at the time. So anyways, he goes on and he said the way he couldn't make the decision. So what he did was he said to his mule, I'll let you make the decision. God, you show the mule which way to go. If he follows the Moor, I'll kill him. If he doesn't, I won't kill him. And of course, the mule went the other way. But to show you, just here we have a saint that wrote the book of rules on discernment, and he had a hard time, knowing he should follow the rules. Should he follow the rules, or should he go with something inside that says you shouldn't be doing this? And that's really interesting because what really was the higher answer there? It was intuition. That inner nudging that said, this isn't right, it doesn't feel right. Even though that was the religious rule at the time. So, God answers us in a lot of different ways. A lot of times, it's that inner knowing. Just like Nancy said, it's that feeling. It's that intuition. One of the biggest things is to thine own self be true. Go within. We know the truth. Are we trying to talk? And I used to say when I was getting in recovery too, I used to say, you know what? I'm good at talking myself in or out of anything. And I was. bestsellers. The first one was entitled Conversations with God. The second, How to Argue and Win Every Time. You got both of them. But isn't that what we do sometimes? Okay, so the first is, God's speaking to us. I don't think there's any doubt here. There's no doubt here in this room whatsoever that God speaks to us as much as he did in the Bible. He speaks to us today. Now, the question is, are we listening? Are we listening, and are we open to the answer? Okay? One of the biggest things that keeps us apart from listening to God's answer is ego, when we focus on our troubles, when we work on building our defenses, and when we are always looking out there for the answer someplace else besides from Spirit. Those willing to listen are seeking to hear Spirit. Those who are not are looking only for solutions. I like that one. I like that. Jesus was one of the best people with the ability to listen, right? Because in the Bible it said, Ernest Holmes wrote about Jesus, saying Jesus spent much of his time communing with his own soul. For it is through our inner thought that we connect with God. To this remarkable man, out of the silence of his soul came his direct revelation of his oneness with God. Back of the conflict of ideas, back of the din of eternal life, external life, and action, back in the innermost recesses of uplifted thought and silent contemplation, there is a voice ever proclaiming, "This is my beloved." Seldom does this voice penetrate the outer world of human experience. Seldom do we allow it to be perfectly expressed through us. We must learn to listen to this voice. Call it conscience, intuition, or whatever we will, there it is. No one need go unguided through life, for all are divine at the end, and all are images of Most High. There's Edward Hershey Richards wrote, "A wise old owl sat in a oak, and the more he saw, the less he spoke. The less he spoke, the more he heard. Why aren't we all like that wise old bird?" I like that. that's kind of cool. So I want to share another story with you. It's about a young man. He went to his Wednesday Bible meeting, and he talked about God speaking. And he was driving home, and he never had that God spoke to him. And he was wondering, how does this feel? God speaking to him. So, after the service, he went out with some friends for coffee and pie, and they discussed the message. Several different ones talked about how God had led them in different ways. It was about 10 o'clock when this young man started driving home. Sitting in his car, he just began to pray, "God, if you still speak to people, speak to me. I will listen." As he drove down the main street of the town, he had the strangest thought: stop and buy a gallon of milk. He shook his head and said out loud, "God, how do I know this is you?" He didn't get a reply and started towards home. But again, the thought about buying a gallon of milk came into his head. The young man thought about Samuel and how he didn't realize the voice of God. "Okay, God, in this case, if this is you, I will buy the gallon of milk. What's the harm?" He could always use the milk. He stopped and purchased the gallon of milk and started off toward home. As he passed 7th Street, he again felt the urge to turn down the street. "This is crazy," he thought, and drove past the intersection. Again, he felt that he should turn down 7th Street. At the next intersection, he turned back and headed down 7th. Half-jokingly, he said out loud, "Okay, God, I will." He drove several blocks when suddenly he felt like he should stop. He pulled over to the curb and looked around. It was a semi-commercial area of town. It wasn't the best, but it wasn't the worst of neighborhoods either. The businesses were closed, and most of the houses looked dark, like the people were already in bed. Again, he sensed something. Go and give the milk to the people in the house across the street. The young man looked at the house. It was dark. It looked like the people were either gone or they were already asleep. He started to open the car door and then sat back in the seat. "Lord, this is insane. Those people are asleep, and if I wake them up, they're going to be mad at me, and I'll look stupid with my gallon of milk." Again, he felt like he should go and give the milk. Finally, he opened the door. "Okay, God, if this is you, I'll go to the door and I'll give you some milk. If you want me to look crazy, like a crazy person, okay, I'll put myself out there." He walked across the street, rang the bell. I could hear some noise inside. A man's voice yelled out, "Who is it? What do you want?" Then the door opened. Before the young man could get away, he tried to run. The man was standing there in his jeans and t-shirt. He looked like he'd just got out of bed. He had a strange look on his face, and he didn't seem too happy to have the stranger standing on his doorstep. "What is it?" The young man thrust out the gallon of milk. "Here, I bought this for you." The man took the milk and rushed down the hallway, speaking loudly in Spanish. Then, from down the hallway came a woman carrying the milk toward the kitchen. The man was following her, holding a baby. The baby was crying. The man had tears streaming down his face. The man began speaking and half crying. "We were just praying. We had some big bills this month, and we ran out of money. We didn't have Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. That's true. That's true.